Great. Welcome to the San Juan County Charter Review Commission's Governance Committee on April 1st, 2021. Present today, we're going to take roll call. Richard Grout.
Here.
Olivia Roseberry. Present. David Dellendorf.
Here.
Janet Burnell.
Here.
Jane Fuller.
Here.
Kevin Ranker.
Aki.
And Tony Gazelle has called and said he cannot join us, and this is Dave Anderson. Have you had a chance to read the minutes generously provided to us by David Dellendorf?
Yep, and I move adoption of the minutes, and with a thank you to David for doing that for us. They're excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
And I want to discuss the fact that I absolutely love David's minutes. He's just a rock star on the minutes. And I also wanted to thank him because I didn't get to in the last meeting for that awesome spreadsheet. So thanks really very much, David.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Can I say something?
No.
No.
Second, so we're in discussion.
No, we're trying to get through this, Dave. Every time you start talking, it's 20 minutes an add-on. So, but yes.
Well, I'm saying I love you, man. Like you do.
Right, just take it. Yes. David, please.
Who has been occupying time the last couple of minutes? Not me. So yeah, exactly, Janet. No, what I want, I'm going to be traveling next week, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to attend the meeting. Going on spring break with grandchildren. So could somebody else take the minutes next week? Thank you.
Okay,
I'll try to attend, but I'm not sure I can.
I can sub, but I'm not creating any sort of a spreadsheet at all. I will take notes.
I will update the spreadsheet because it's very easy for me to do, and I'll watch the video. So
and I could take notes. Oh, that's actually a good point. You could just watch the videos and afterwards and do that. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's why you think my minutes are detailed, and they are detailed much more so than others. I do watch the minutes. I watch them. I'm not the minutes, the videos. Make sure I didn't miss anything, because it's very important. Because when you're taking notes, you can miss things and misinterpret things and whatever. So
yeah, Mr. Chair, on that point, because we're still in discussion on the motion to approve the minutes, but. So maybe when we want to vote on that motion, but then I just wanted to say something about next week because it is spring break and some of us are going to be traveling with family. So
yeah. Just want to make a comment. Maybe, I don't know if this is a point to do it in terms of discussion, but when we're talking about the minutes, should we include the spreadsheet as an extension of the minutes? Does that make sense to do? Is that appropriate? Can we get a consensus that is an appropriate thing to do, to include the spreadsheet as a part of the minutes, because the spreadsheet is updated for every meeting?
So I see Kevin nodding yes, and I see Jane like maybe not so much.
Yeah. Can we extend the discussion a little bit on this? So just to clarify.
Sure. That's my input.
Jane, please. What's your objection to that?
I just think if the gentleman who is doing our minutes is also doing the spreadsheet, I'm not worried about it. So we could do it or not do it. I don't see that it matters either way.
Just so it gets into your hands. And it'll get into your hands anyway, because it'll be attached to the meeting notification.
Sure, Dave. I mean, why not? I mean, they can be sort of one and the same.
Right. Good. So with that, is there any more discussion about the accepting of the minutes? Approval of the minutes? Okay. All those in favor of the minutes as written?
Aye.
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 Richard?
I raised my hand. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Well, we actually can't see it now because your camera is off.
Yeah. So okay. So approved.
Is off?
Yeah. We just see a black screen with your name.
That's because of his forehead. When he comes back on, you'll know why he turned off the video. So a point I want to make on the spreadsheet: if you make it part of the minutes, then it's going to go on the county website. So do you want it on the county website?
Oh.
You really want to do that or not? I don't know.
No.
You're saying no?
I would say no.
Okay. I was just assuming, it-
Public information, but I don't think we need to include it with the minutes. Let's just keep
No.
it as a tracker and we all look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
let's all do it the same.
yeah, okay, so
So I make a new motion that we approve the minutes and not include the spreadsheet until we're finished with our spreadsheet.
okay. Okay, good.
Second,
Okay, a second. Is there discussion on this? I have a disclosure to make. I did, I think, include it in the last disclosure when I gave it to Catherine, but I don't think this is the kind of thing we want to go through again, that things have already been disclosed that, so we will, going forward, I'll add this amendment. Going forward, we will not include the spreadsheet with the minutes on the county website.
Good.
I think it's a working document, and until we have a
Yeah.
finalized version of it, I think it's better that we just present the finalized version of how we settled on this.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Kevin has had
Uh,
one too many meeting today.
It's
No,
April
he's
Fool's Day.
had a couple too many drinks before the meeting.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I guess the motion has been seconded to just include the minutes instead of the spreadsheet, not include the spreadsheet on the county website. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Hey.
I'm assuming Kevin's there. Okay, great. So passed. So I mentioned this a little bit. I heard from Tony. He cannot join us tonight. He had something come up. So I'm going to suggest that we only do the amendments that he has not presented. And then move on from there to doing some of the other things that we discussed last meeting that we said we're going to address this meeting, and then continue down our list of issues that we're looking at. So the language that was proposed, I think the first thing we're going to discuss, language that was proposed by Kevin and David Dellendorf was, let's see, where is it here?
shall we approve the minutes first, though? Not
I think we-
the agenda, the
Yeah.
agenda.
You don't
We
need to
approved it?
approve, you don't need to approve an agenda.
Oh,
Okay,
Dave, are we working from the spreadsheet now? What are we working from?
We're not the spreadsheet. We're working from the sections. We're going to look at sections 2 and 4 on the agenda, and we're going to work not the spreadsheet yet, but let's see, where is it?
So your email, you have section 2.3, 2.3.1, 2.4.1, 2.4.2. So if you want to just tell us what motion you're on, and we can go to that one.
Yeah, what's the one that you proposed? It's 410.
410. It's the
4-1.
one- Very last
410,
zero.
yeah.
4-1.
Very last one.
410. The only one that Tony didn't do that we don't want to talk about anything that Tony presented. So just the one that we're going to work on. That's the only amendment that we should work on tonight, I think, and then start on the spreadsheet again. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Totally.
Sure. Sure.
so 410.
Yes,
So that's the only one we're talking about, is that correct?
tonight.
All right.
Because Tony is not here.
Well, there are others on the spreadsheet after this, but
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
Dave,
Yes,
so
David.
of all the ones that you attached, the amendments and that Tony listed, the last one actually was mine. He was just passing it on. I had provided it to you and him and maybe others earlier. 4.10, and this is a follow-up to our conversation at the last meeting on the suggestion that I made that section 4.10 should be clarified as to what the different departments are, listing the departments. And we had discussion, and it's a little bit unclear where everybody was on this. Kevin had suggested wording in the chats that is now my option 1. That's what Kevin put in chat. People perhaps saw it, perhaps they didn't, but it was not discussed. But we did earlier discuss my proposal, which was either 2 or 3. They're kind of the same thing, of listing all the current departments, just so any reader of the charter can see, okay, these are the departments we're talking about that are, and we would list the ones that exist today, preferably in an annex, not in the body, because it would make it too lengthy. And then it provides for adding them at any time that the county council creates or deletes different departments. So you've got two different ways of approaching it, and that's what the discussion, I guess, should be.
Yeah, great. Kevin?
Yeah, we had a little bit of discussion on this, David, and I was saying that I'm leaning toward, and I'm totally open to different ideas, but I was leaning toward not listing them because while you can grant authority to the county council to change it in the future, if it's in the charter, it's in the charter. And so by saying that the departments are simply, administrative departments are simply anything that isn't an independently elected officials department, that clarifies it. I mean, that's what we're talking about. I don't see a need to list them. If we list them and then later on the county decides to move something, the county council does, you're out of sync with the charter.
Dick?
That's similar to what I was going to suggest. I was going to go a little farther and say, why don't we, I don't understand the reason for singling out Public Works. Why don't we get Public Works out of there and just leave it at the administrative department shall include the county manager and such additional departments, et cetera, as Kevin is suggesting, but get rid of Public Works. Why do they get singled out?
Well, and Mr. Chair.
Kevin. Yeah, Kevin.
What I'm suggesting is you don't list any of them. You just say, shall include the county manager and all other departments not represented by an independently elected official.
Oh, okay, sorry, I misunderstood. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Is there a counter argument? I'd like to hear more. Why would it be good to represent them? Because this is, we're definitely, it makes sense to me what we're saying, but I'd like to hear a little bit more, if you don't mind, if any has an idea. David?
Well, since this was my idea of listing them, I'll just say why.
Thanks.
I think it might be helpful to the general public when they read the charter that they have an opportunity to see what all those departments are. When it comes to elected officials, we are going to be listing those departments. We are going to say the assessor, the sheriff, et cetera, et cetera. So with regard to those that are not headed by elected officials, I think it would be helpful to have them listed here. Somebody reading about the elected officials, they don't see Public Works, for example, they're going to think, well, oh, wait a minute, where does Public Works fit in here? So I just think it is a helpful way. It's not really necessary. I see where the brief language does accomplish the same thing, but it does perhaps remove some uncertainties and provides clarity to somebody who wants to know exactly what the departments are today. And in terms of adding any in the future, I think the language covers that. I mean, it being out of sync, I don't, things change. County council makes decisions, changes things, a lot of things. So I don't see that as a problem.
Okay. Dick?
We could add as a parenthetical note, a footnote, an appendix.
That's where I was going to go.
We could say those departments as of
This date include.
as of June 2021 are, and list them. And so that it's clear that was the case on that date. But then the language that says the council can add or delete from time to time is what governs.
Okay. Jane, then Kevin?
I mean, it's just a suggestion, but I wonder if David wouldn't just do a teeny bit of homework on a couple of the other county charters and just have a look at what others do in this regard, and might be interesting to just, given that there's only, well, there's 6 others, we have easy access to them, just see whether they do this kind of delineation rather. And then I think what Dick was just suggesting could work as well. I'm just thinking, be interesting to see. I think that level of detail for a charter of this nature seems somewhat unnecessary to me. And I think that in today's age, people just go to websites of the county government and get that information. I don't really see the point of it being in there, but I'm not hardline on that.
Okay, thanks. Kevin?
I think Dick's suggestion is the way to go. to Jane's point, and actually circling back to David's point, I would bet my brand new backcountry split board that I'm so excited that I finally have, that no more than 25 people in the entire county outside of the Charter Review Commission have ever read the charter. Secondly, to Jane's point, the way they get this information is they go to the website, and on the homepage it says county government. You click it and it says, and there's a graph, and it says, you know, county manager, and it has all these departments. It has county council above them, and then it has elected officials and their department. That's how people get it. I think Dick's suggestion is smart. And to Jane's point, though, it's not just other county charters. It's just process. It's what is the precedent in Washington state government with cities, counties, state, federal, and the way it's typically done is you don't list everything. You want to give as much flexibility as possible to the entity who's governing to have the ability to make their decisions in the future. I'm getting some horrible echo, by the way. So in that case, to Dick's point, we could have an appendix that says, on the date that the charter was adopted, these were the administrative departments. But the charter language says the simple one-liner, because then in the future, if the county council wants to make changes or the manager suggests changes, it's not out of sync with the charter.
I would go even further. Instead of adding an appendix, I would just say, for current information on departments, go to www blah blah blah, because that's going to be constantly updated versus an appendix that is going to be, people are going to say, well, they're going to look at it and just, I would just say, for more information on departments, go to whatever the county website is.
Okay, David.
The problem with, well, first of all, Dick, I already had in here that it says all existing county departments are listed in the appendix. So I that's already in here. I think I like was that Janet's idea of referring to the county website with one observation. It's very, very hard to figure out on the county website what all the different commissions and departments and all that are. There's no list of them. There's no org chart under the county manager that shows all of them. I find it very hard. I went in there looking for example, well, what was it the other day? Whatever it was. And you have to hunt all over for it, even though the website is much better than it used to be. By the way, it has improved. But I think that would be fine. I think maybe we just refer to the county website and then we work with the county to try to get them to put up a one-stop place where the.
And that's what we could put in the charter. We can say administrative department shall include the county manager and shall be listed on the county website.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as they do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if it's in the charter, I think they have to do it.
Olivia, then Richard, then Dick.
To me, this feels like minutia. It really feels like something that's like this big, and I don't want to, poo-poo the work that has been done. So thank you. But I think about the items that we really should get on the ballot, and I don't know if I want to back this if other things are not going to make it on the ballot. Yeah. I understand the purpose, but I don't know if the people will understand the purpose of the minutia change, if that makes sense. So that is my input.
Dick, then Jane.
I move that we use the language Kevin came up with Janet's note, referring people to the website, and Olivia, let's be done with this.
Okay, there's a second. Is there a discussion about that?
I agree with it. I think that's fine. It always worried me, Olivia, that this was minutia, but the way it was worded, it referred to the public works and then it didn't name anybody else. I thought that was very strange. I think Dick kind of inferred the thing, but I think that's a good idea to do it that way. Just refer the reader to the county website. And if the county website doesn't have it in a precise presentation, then we can hopefully work with them to change it.
Thank you. Jane, please.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So on in terms of referring the public to the county website, we could do that on the front page of the charter, because anything in the charter, they should refer to the county website if they want more information. So I agree. Referring them to the website, absolutely fine. God knows where the website will be 10 years from now, nevertheless. But the other point I wanted to make is really more broadly. And I think what David has suggested here in terms of a minor amendment is a useful one, particularly because Public Works was called out and that seems strange. So that's great. Maybe to help us though moving forward is, if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it, right? So I think that's an important principle to keep in mind as we take stock of amendments we want to make and ask ourselves, why are we suggesting the amendment? So I think though that this is a good suggestion to make this tweak and this fix. And yeah, that's my contribution.
Okay. David, and then we'll see if there's any more discussion. David.
Well, I already agreed that we could do it with reference to the county website, but I got to point out 2.10 is about the appointed officials and it doesn't appointed departments. 3.10 is about elected officials and it lists every single one of them. So there was just an inconsistency there. That's all. And it is minutia, I agree. But if it could be just fixed with this simple amendment, whatever the amendment was that was just moved, let's just do it.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Call for the question.
Call for the question. Janet?
Oh, I thought we were voting.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor for proposing the amendment that administrative departments shall include the county manager and all other departments not represented by an independently elected official. Raise your hand.
Are we referring? Okay.
Referring to the website.
Referring to the website.
Referring to the website for those, yeah. Raise your hand. Okay. All those opposed?
Kevin's not raising his hand.
I raised my hand twice earlier and you guys kept calling the question again. So I'm out of protest, not voting.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I vote yes.
Okay, good.
We might want to, Dave, we might want to just make sure that somebody, be it you or David, just captures the actual language on that. That's all.
Well, I'll put it in the minutes and then when you
Okay.
discuss the minutes next
and then we can
week, then
fix
you
it.
can
Excellent.
say,
Yeah.
oh no, let's
Excellent.
change this.
Thank you,
We can
David.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. That's great.
Okay.
Oh, good. Now I don't have to investigate what other counties do.
David, did you notice I like to make work for you?
It's 7:25. We need to keep moving.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the next I have on my list is the Transfer Visitors Bureau to the county. And Janet sent us a nice letter today. Janet, you want to?
Yes, so I would like to defer this because I also have an email into Jamie Stevens about a little more information. And if I could just wait a week to talk about this in toto, I might have a little more information next week. So
Okay.
I know everyone's really concerned about the Visitors Bureau as much as I am, but
Okay. We'll move that.
Concerned?
to the 8th.
thank you.
I
Good.
think it's important.
Good. No, I want to have more information for people. I think
Thank
the
you.
most, while you're mulling about all this, just be cognizant of the fact that the Visitors Bureau contract ends December of this year. So,
Okay.
kind of
It's time
time is of the
sensitive.
essence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you did some really nice work on this. I even sent an email thanking you.
Oh, thank you. So,
Yeah, and I was so impressed by your research and just sort of the integrity of your interview questions, et cetera. I am happy to recruit you to the Justice and Equity Commission, effective immediately.
and I will be getting more information from Jamie. And
Excellent.
David, do you have more information?
Well, no, but I was gonna ask, would it be appropriate or inappropriate to ask Bill Apple to sit in on our discussions? Because Bill is on the board. It
I
may
will-
not be appropriate, however, to
I-
bring him into.
I think Bill has a particular bias. And I would rather have our discussion first, and then if we need more information, Bill would be a great contact. But at this point, I think having discussion among us first, and I will have more information hopefully from Jamie next week.
And I would suggest we leave it up to Janet if she decides she needs to talk to Bill.
Oh, and I'm sorry. And the one thing I'm going to send to you is in the comp plan, there is a section about tourism. and how that is something that will be guiding no matter whether it's inside or outside of the county. I'm going to send you this week that section of the comp plan that will talk about tourism that they've decided on. So, and Kevin had his hand raised. I'm sorry.
Kevin.
I know we're deferring, and Janet, you and I just spoke about this earlier, but I just want to make sure, and if I get a chance, I will go back and read their current contract. But just that we're all aware, not only that it gets renewed at the end of this year, but how it gets renewed and what the process is for changing that. Because I know in the past, and I can't remember if it was 6 months, I think it might have been 30 days, or maybe it was 90 days out from the time that their contract expires. If they're not given written notice, then it automatically renews. And so we need to find out that information too, just to go into the decision making that we're going to have.
Olivia?
How long is their contract if it renews?
It's usually 3 to 4 years. That's why it's a problematic. Once it gets locked in, it's locked in. So anyhow,
When
I have more information next week.
Kevin, anything?
I was just going to say, when I was a county commissioner, I was asked to take this on, and I did. And we did a lot of work, and I did not read the fine print that said 30 days and it automatically renews. And the current director, who was the director then, came into my office and slapped it down in front of me and said, "You missed it by a day. We'll see you in 4 years," and laughed and walked out.
And I would just, as you go through it, look at the amount of money that is going to the Business Bureau. I mean, it is a tremendous amount of money. So anyhow, that's it. If I could just have one more week, and then I will come back next week on this.
Oh, and God, I need to correct, particularly because we're being recorded. It was not the director. It was our past auditor.
Okay. Curious about it. Jane, please.
If you guys get hold of the contract, or maybe you have it already, could you please share it with the?
It was in the email I sent you. It should be an
Okay.
attachment.
Thank you. I read your email as fully as I could, but I didn't get that. Okay.
And there's an
thank you.
attachment, and the contract is attached.
Thank you. Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Okay. So we'll move on to next week on that. I guess I skipped down to the Travel Bureau, but self-governance was something that came up.
Wait, did you just call it the Travel Bureau?
Not Travel Bureau, the travel agency, right? Where to go? No, the
Visitors Bureau.
Visitors Bureau, excuse me. And so I'm sorry, I did skip over. That's what's just caught my eye. But go to let's see, self-governance. Is that
Number 9.
Number 9? That's what I was actually going down. So number 9, self-governance. There has been many conversations about this, and I'm curious to hear. There was certainly Randy Gaylord's legal memo that we have discussed a little bit. I think this issue is going to take some incubation, and I'm curious to hear what you've heard, or are people interested in it. I've heard people from Shaw and Orcas are interested in it, and there's sense of could be possible, but I'm not really sure how, whether it's incorporation or through commissions or advisory committees. I would like to hear, just kind of get a sense of what this committee is thinking about it, and how this can go forward. Richard? Dick?
My very clear understanding, and I think I mentioned in conversation with you, Dave, that Bill Apple, the then prosecutor, and I looked at this several years ago, and the law hasn't changed. If you want to be a unit of government in Washington that is less than a county, you have to incorporate under state law. That is your only choice. You cannot have self-government outside of incorporating. You can have a Village of East Sound and an East Sound advisory review committee and that sort of thing, but you cannot have complete self-governance. That's why we have the town of Friday Harbor. Town of Friday Harbor wanted complete self-governance. I think it's a waste of time talking about it. The law is clear.
Okay. Olivia?
I originally was one of the people that brought this topic to the commission. And since, we've all, I believe, have spoken about it enough, and there's been a legal opinion that has been shared by Randy Gaylord as well. I did my due diligence. I was asked by our constituents to provide this topic to the Charter Review Commission. I have done my job. I would like to make a motion to move on from this topic and to drop it and to not move it forward.
Okay,
Second,
So we have a motion and a second.
motion a second. Okay. Is there any discussion? David?
I'm in favor of the motion, but I would like to think though, that if there's a large number of people and vocal people in Orcas and Lopez that got Olivia's attention at the very beginning, there must have been a reason, and I hope we've given this enough discussion that they don't feel like we've ignored them. And I guess the legal opinion would be the way to start by saying it's not legal, but I'm not sure. The legal opinion, I think if I heard you correctly, Dick, it said that they must incorporate. So it doesn't say you can't do it. It says if you do it, you have to incorporate. Am I correct in saying that?
my understanding is that is the only option under existing state
Yeah,
law.
okay, so incorporate. So what if the response is, okay, well, we'll incorporate? I still think it's a bad idea for many reasons, even if they do incorporate. But if that's the justification for turning this down, then I don't think we've given it the proper attention.
What?
Jane? and then
Because they
Olivia.
can always say, we'll incorporate. It doesn't say you can't do it. It says you have to incorporate if you want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Okay, Jane and then Olivia?
I mean,
Okay.
part of my confusion around this whole issue is I don't even know what this means for the people who are interested in it.
Yeah,
We've never
yeah.
even had a discussion about
Right.
it. So I find this
Exactly.
extremely frustrating because
Yeah.
again, back to my point where if it ain't broken, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. I mean, what is it that districts want to do that they can't do under the current charter? I mean, so if we want to discuss it, to David's point, at some level, just so that as committee members, we understand, what we were passing a motion on. I mean, I'd like to hear from those who've heard constituents who are itching to have self-governance, what they mean by that. And if there are planning commissions for the respective districts, how are those not sufficient? And what is it that other districts want? And maybe that might stave off a civil war in San Juan County. I don't know. I'm optimistic, but I'm joking. No, I'm being serious though. This was part of my frustration before, is this, I don't know what the hell self-governance means in the context of the way in which people are raising it.
Jane?
Or Janet,
I'm sorry, Janet? Sorry, Janet?
very close.
Yeah.
I would just say, I don't think there's anything in the charter that prevents anyone from pursuing incorporation or self-governance. That, if there was something in the charter that said, we as a county are not going to allow, then that's something we should look at to change. But I don't think there's anything in here, and I may be missing something, that says that people cannot pursue this if they're so interested in whatever community they live in. And I will agree with Olivia. There's been a lot of discussion on Orcas about doing this. And I think if there was something in the charter that prevented it, and then Randy's whole thing is a separate thing, but we're looking at the charter, then I would say there's something we need to change so that people can pursue it. Right now, I can't find anything that stops anyone from pursuing this, other than the county prosecutor, but that's, again, a whole other thing.
Yeah. Olivia, can I say something real quick, and then you can be next?
Yeah.
Well, so Randy's opinion commented on the idea that there is a home rule possibility of city-county charter. And it was that city-county charter is not a path to local governance for island or island governance. And I think that, so that was specific to the kind of changing the nature of the charter. And so that was what his opinion about. In my experience on Shaw Island, there is a let's go back. I was a part of a group called Shaw Inc., which was originally a group that was designed to lobby the county for for paved roads on Shaw. And it's a group that's evolved, and it's very much the central committee of the island, but it is a private organization. It is not it doesn't have any democratic influence on the island, and it's not a democratic organization. And I think there's a lot of undemocratic organizations in our county that have a lot of sway that are not really tapped into the government. And I think the idea of more local control on our islands that are specific to the islands is something that could really serve our county and would really give people more strength and identity with our island, and could be a very good beneficial thing. And so that's kind of where my thought was in terms of why I originally presented the idea of a city-county charter that could create a context for islands to incorporate. And but I was thinking there's other ways that we can do it. So that's kind of what the nature of this idea, putting it forward. I think islands are different, and they have different politics in terms of vacation rentals or marijuana, land use. There are differences between islands, and I think islands would like to see that brought out. And so Olivia, and then David, and then Richard.
So I put this motion on the table because I understand that there's nothing in the charter that needs to be changed currently for this to be possible. So if this is something that people want to pursue in the future, knowing that it is possible, there's a pathway. But I don't think that there is a change specifically within our current charter that needs to be made at this time. There needs to be more, local support. If they really want to do this, there needs to be a bigger group of people actually doing the work to make it happen. And a lot of it is just talk, and islanders love to talk. That is one thing that we all have in common. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know about you guys, but I, was on the ballot, and I had got swarmed at the grocery store, like people wanting to talk to me about whatever, and I just want to say something is that I feel like I completely misunderstood the entire purpose of us submitting suggestions. I have no self-motivated change that I submitted. Those were all things that constituents, the people that elected me, suggested to me to bring to our group. So I have no personal agenda for being on this charter besides to do the work of the people. So if that's why I brought this motion, was to just let everyone know that we can move on.
Okay. David, Dick, Jane, and then Kevin, if you have anything, then we can close it up if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, Olivia, that's right on. I mean, that's what we were supposed to do, not just personal agendas, but representing whoever voted us, or just bringing up a general idea that you think should be discussed. I agree with Olivia and Janet. Unless somebody can say it's prohibited in the charter, then there's no here, there, or whatever the saying is. Let's just move on. People just, the response is that the Charter Review Commission determined that there's nothing in the current charter that prohibits groups on other islands from pursuing their desire to implement some form of self-government, and let them do it if they want, but we don't have to address it. So I agree. We should just move on. And can I call the question, or do we have other people commenting?
Just now, you jumped the queue, David, and got in front of me because Dave wasn't paying attention.
Sorry.
So with all due respect to those of you who would like to talk about this, I have to say, as politely as I can, it's pointless. There is no provision in state law for a county to delegate its legislative authority. If people want independence and self-government, they have to incorporate. I have a woman friend on Orcas who may be one of the people who talked to you, Olivia, who called me about this when she saw I was on the Charter Commission, and we talked at length. And I said, one avenue, I walked through this with her and said, that's your choice. You know, we can't do something in the charter that basically violates the state constitution and state law. We can't make the county delegate its legislative authority. So I move that we drop this issue and say it's over. We're through with it.
Well, that's what Olivia's motion
I already have a motion.
is.
I think Olivia made that motion.
You want to second it?
I'll
I
second
didn't
it.
realize
There
you
we
made a
go.
motion.
Yep.
Okay, I second it.
Okay. So is there any more discussion, Jane, or are we ready to take a vote? Jane,
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to make and I don't disagree at all with the motion, and I'll vote in favor of it. I just wanted to make the point that from my Lopesian perspective, our District 3 perspective, I don't feel it serves us well as a county of our that is an archipelago to be thinking about bifurcating ourselves and thinking as individual islands, given the future we're all faced with. I think we will be stronger together than we are individually. And I think if anything, we need to understand each other better. That's just my take. We need to get to know each other better and work together for our future. So that's just really more a matter of value-based point. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share.
okay. And if there's no more discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor of dropping this issue, raise your hand. All those opposed?
I'll abstain because I don't know what you're talking about.
Self-governance.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, what is
Okay,
this?
It's 6. Dave, did you vote against?
I vote
the motion?
opposed.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay,
vote
so-
abstain.
So we're 5, 1, and 1 if Kevin abstains.
No,
Okay.
if it's just the same discussion we've had, I would vote to drop it too, because I don't think it's possible at this point. Although I actually totally disagree with Randy's opinion. I actually do think that we could be considered freeholders. There's nothing in the law that says otherwise.
But there's nothing in the charter that prevents people from pursuing that. What we're looking at is a charter, not whether, so.
And I'm sorry I dropped off.
You want us to reiterate the motion?
No, I do not. A friend has gotten a bad accident. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Okay. So, sorry to hear what,
Oh.
okay, so the motion passes. 5 in favor.
Or 6
1
in favor.
opposed, 6 in favor.
I'm voting in. I'm sorry. I'm voting in favor.
Okay, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay,
Can I ask a clarification?
yes,
And again, sorry to just drop off like that. We're not taking action in opposition. We're just taking no action.
We're just not going to pursue it as
Right,
a
we're not
charter
pursuing it.
amendment. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're dropping it.
Yeah.
okay. So we have 14 minutes left. No, 16 minutes left. No, 14, I'm sorry. And the next issue is the review structure and duties of citizen committees. Is that
Wait.
number 10?
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually-
I'm sorry.
Or
Yeah,
self-governance?
10, 11, and 12 are all tied together.
Yeah,
So they're kind
So
of one
let's-
discussion.
yeah.
So Kevin and Olivia,
Olivia,
these look like they're suggestions from you guys.
yeah.
I can speak to my two, to 10 and 11.
Okay.
I have not had the chance. I thought I was going to have a lot of time to write cool stuff, and instead all I'm doing is other stuff. I hope to I will write up language for this, but I believe that so the county council or the county manager, somebody about 3 years ago implemented a form that you have to fill out if you want to be on a citizens advisory committee. It's just a standard form. I think that's a good idea. What they did not do was put in place anything that creates a process that should be followed when somebody on the committee. And so I've told the story before, but we have committee members who are citizens who filled out forms and never heard back. We had citizens who filled out forms who one council member didn't like them or didn't like their political position on something, and so just buried it. We also have people who were appointed to committees and never even heard they were appointed. And months passed before they just randomly found their name online and realized they actually have been appointed. There's also not a process, although I just saw something online saying training, so maybe they've heard me because I've been whining about this for a while. But to my knowledge, our citizen committee members are not going through trainings on Open Public Meetings Act, or more importantly, the actions of that individual committee, like what their responsibility is. So I think all this needs to be formalized. It needs to be transparent. There needs to be a thorough process, and it also needs to be legal. And what that means is that there will be a process that is followed. So somebody fills out the form, their name will be brought up. It'll be vetted first if there's any restrictions on the position, although most of them are not and probably should not have restrictions. And then there will be an up or down vote by the county council. So you get your day before the county council, and the county council has to have the guts to say, I'm not appointing this person, I'm appointing this person, instead of just burying it. And I think this is really important. We have dozens of citizens who really feel disrespected and frankly hurt by decisions of individual council members in the past, or the fact that it was just, it's not even loosey-goosey, it's just this horrible lack of structure. So what I propose is that we put forward a process, and it's going to be basic. It just says once they fill out the form, they will be considered by a councilmatic action. And so it comes before a council meeting and they decide, yes, we're appointing this person, or no, we're not. But they don't get to just say, like, one council member doesn't get to make a decision. We had a council member in the past who regularly would pressure these committees or pressure individual citizens, not realizing that they have no authority as an individual council member. They only have authority as a majority of the council. So here's my vent.
Jane?
Yeah, so thank you for that, Kevin. And I'll be interested to hear Olivia on point 12 too. I just wanted to say that I think in the learning that I've been doing about our county government and in the last few months since joining the commission, and how multiple in number are commissions and committees and councils of this government, and having had a one-on-one with the county manager about resolution 31 regarding safe and inclusive communities, I've begun to realize that there are many of these bodies, and it seems that there is nothing that organizes them in any way. And I literally asked Mike Thomas, what happens to a committee or a council or a commission once it's created? He said, it lives in perpetuity. Once they get created, they never die. And if you go on the website and you look at how many there are, I feel even more strongly about this. I feel there needs to be perhaps a recommendation to council that there's a thorough review of the committee and council and commission entities that are serving this county government. Because I'm even more surprised and disappointed to hear what Kevin's just shared about interested community members who want to be a part of these entities to help make a difference in the way our county's governed, and to be treated in that manner is pretty shocking. And the other thing I want to say, and I feel really strongly about this, and this relates to my work on the Justice and Equity Committee, is I would want to suggest that these entities actively, publicly try to recruit people of diverse backgrounds and representative backgrounds of the diversity of our population. So I think there needs to be a real review of all of these. And there absolutely, I fully agree with Kevin that there needs to be a structure put in place that makes the process accountable and transparent to community members in this county.
Janet.
So two things, I'm hearing two things. One is, so I'm looking at all the articles in the charter. There is nothing about boards. So we can either add an article that is about the construct and development of community advisory boards, or Jane was suggesting this a recommendation to, we can make a recommendation to the county council that they pursue a study that includes all these issues. So I mean, they're two different things. One is a recommendation, and one is we actually, because there is literally no article or anything even covered within the articles about community boards and advisory.
Kevin.
Yeah. Two things. Jane, to your point, I actually forgot to mention one of the things I had in my notes was that they also needed to represent the diversity of the islands. Our citizens committees do, and so there needs to be a real push to recruit women, to recruit people of color, to recruit different gender recognitions and so on. And I have some of that language I actually did work on. Janet, to your point, I feel that it has to be a new article.
Great, then I think we need to develop that article.
And it has to be in the charter.
Yeah, so I think we need to develop that.
I do not trust any council to, and it's trust is not the right word. It's similar to the discussions we're having on justice and equity, and we're having on climate. They have too many priorities, and if we tell them to do this, even if we said by a date certain, I don't think the citizens will be satisfied with the result we get, because there's too many other things they have to do. I think we could simply put this in the charter, and it's just a new article in the charter that says this is how this process will work.
Okay. Dick.
If Kevin can find the time to draft something as he
That's where I was
suggested,
going.
to draft something as he suggested, I move that we go forward with the idea that we would create a new article for the charter that combines the intentions of 10, 11 with the addition of diversity.
And okay, David.
Yeah, I hate to bring up section 4.10 again, that we were gonna list all the entities, but you know, I see now that we have a third category. We've got the elected departments, we got the appointed departments, and when we have all the citizen groups, which they're not, are they appointed? Yeah, I guess they are appointed. If they're appointed, they're responsible for the county, to the county council, but yet they're not responsible to the county council. They're supposed to be independent of the county council. So I'm a little bit confused. Dick, let me finish.
No, point of order. I made a motion, so we need to see if there's a second. If there's not, then then it's over.
I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion.
You want me to repeat what I just said?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay, so talking about we're in a discussion about creating another section in the charter. Olivia, please.
Jane and Kevin, is this congruent to any of the work that you're doing in justice and equity, so we're not doing double work?
I was going to actually suggest once Kevin comes up with the article that we also let Justice and Equity review it, and tweak it to include some language about justice and equity, and bring it back to us to present.
We can't hear what you're saying, Jane.
You're muted.
Thank you. I hate muting myself. No, okay. Anyway. Yeah, that's a good question, Olivia. It's absolutely a governance issue, no question. And so, yeah, justice and equity can add some language, but it's very much related to the structure and functioning of the government. So, yeah, it's definitely something this group wants to tackle.
Can I say something real quick, David, before I guess
Sure.
One question I have is this: should we be reviewing the committees and boards as a commission? I mean, that it is a form of governance, and should our commission or should our committee actually be reviewing lightly the role of these boards? I mean, if Jane, what you're saying is that they're in perpetuity, maybe we should see if that is something that we need to look at. Also, one thing, over regulating this, how it's set up, it could be something that would dissuade people from joining these boards and commissions. I hope we can make it something that actually is a door opening, getting more people, inviting people more to this process. So that hope we can be mindful of that.
Sorry.
David?
Could I ask Dick to repeat the motion before I comment? Because I'm not, it's not clear to me what exactly it was.
The motion, and Kevin can make it simpler if he's willing. I was leaving him an out. I said if Kevin is willing to draft some language that would be a little more precise, as he suggested, that would combine 9 and 10, then my motion was that we carry this forward with the idea of creating a new article for the charter that would address this.
Seconded. And David, and then we can wrap it up.
Oh, I'm fine with that, but I don't think it's really necessary. Kevin already volunteered to do this, and
Okay.
he's gonna do it. So I'm not sure why we need to even have a motion, but I'll vote for it because I think it's the way to approach it.
Okay, Kevin.
I wanted to bring it to a head so we didn't discuss it for the next 20 minutes.
Okay, Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say Dick's motion is basically the committee authorizing me to go forward. What I hear the motion as is saying we're going to do this, depending upon the language being acceptable.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Call the question.
All those in,
Sorry, the other thing I was going to say is I planned on circling back to Jane anyway to get her feedback on the gender and equity side of it.
Yeah. I think that's really important to touch base with justice and equity on this component. So,
okay. Okay, the questions, there's been a second. So shall we vote? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. No opposed. Motion passes. Olivia, on number, it is just almost 8 o'clock. We have 1 minute left. Olivia, are you interested in talking about the third notion in terms of?
Yeah, it actually ties into all of this. Why I brought this up, and I watched the video from last week, and I did not appreciate the talk that went back and forth when this topic was brought up, and how I was laughed at. And just a reminder that this was not my topic. This was brought up by someone else. So the purpose of this was to talk about the disparity that is between the county employees, the elected, and the appointed. And the expectation as an employee is that you have a background check and random UAs. And so the person that brought this topic to me, I understood their point. Why is it that an elected official doesn't have to follow the same rules as someone who's a county employee who gets paid? So that was the purpose behind the topic. I completely think that it is kind of tied in with everything that we just discussed with Kevin's topic of how the appointed is brought on, and also how the lack of equality. And so I think that topic will be covered within there. That's also something that's more in the personnel manual that we don't really have a say over. So that was the purpose behind the topic.
so
Janet,
one of the committees is working on the personnel manual. Who's working on the personnel?
Operations.
Do we know if they're addressing, because it could be in there, background checks.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that could be in the personnel manual for anyone
Well,
who's.
Also, to Kevin's point, it's something that's probably not legal at this point anyway. Like the removal of the check the box or whatever it is, like, makes sense. Operations is definitely covering the personnel manual, and also had the, I think it's this Saturday or next Saturday, the gentleman from the HR department is joining.
To talk about
yeah, so they can cover it then.
thank you for bringing it forward. It is important to think about. Dick, and then Jane.
I didn't have my hand up, but I do have a comment. I think, Olivia, that the one thing that troubles me about it, I like the idea of requiring it of the elected officials, but I think you're right. I don't think legally we can do it. But I have a problem with doing it for people who volunteer for boards and commissions. I kind of don't see the point.
Okay. Jane?
No, that's okay. I actually, yeah, I don't have a comment. Thank you.
Okay. And then Kevin?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think to Olivia's point, following the HR person's presentation, I think whatever committee is looking at that is going to gain a lot of information from that presentation. As I brought up last time, there is a difference between a background check and a check the box, which is now illegal in Washington State, I believe. I think we passed that law when I was still there. The one thing I would say is background checks and UAs for the citizen committees, I would not support. I think our citizens would run for the hills. And I'm not saying everybody's wasted. I'm just saying it is too tedious you're asking for somebody to volunteer several hours a month to be on a committee to give back to their community, and then telling them you want to do a background check and a UA. I think for the citizens committees, I shouldn't be so strong and say I wouldn't support it. I would need to hear more of why that's a good idea. For the elected, when Olivia first brought this to my attention, that the electeds aren't under the same jurisdiction as the rest of county employees is shocking to me. At the state level, I don't care if you're governor, state senator, or just somebody who's working, the lawn services at the Capitol, you are all under the same procedures manual.
That is equity. I mean, that needs to.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
It's appalling that our charter actually delineates elected officials out. And so I think we absolutely need to fix that. And whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander.
And that should be in the.
Well, we've been doing that in operations. So that was something that was covered in operations. And what we came up with is that electeds are separate. So we can't change that.
Wow.
That's why it's in there.
Okay, David, you had your hand
That's
up?
what we've been told.
Told by who, Olivia? Sorry.
David, hang on to what Olivia just said. Yeah, who said that? Because I don't see how that's accurate.
I will find it for you. It was a legal opinion, not by Randy.
You should get one from
So
Randy
then-
then.
I would say if it's
MRSC.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
So here's the deal. I'm just going to be really candid. I don't care if it's Randy or the MRSC. If our commission votes in a certain direction, it is Randy's job to try and defend that position. Now, if we're totally naive and there's no way to do it, then that's one thing. But I can't understand how it is that federal, state government can be that way. Other jurisdictions, the local entity can be that way, and we can't. So
Yeah,
we
I
need a
agree.
thorough analysis of that.
David, thank you for your patience.
I agree with everybody. It definitely should apply to elected officials, but as Olivia said, with the operations committee is dealing with this, and I think we should just let them run with it. But what I, particularly specifically with regard to elected officers, but with regard to citizen committees, do we want to weigh in on it or deal with it or amend it or whatever, or should we just leave this to the general consideration of the operations committee who's going to be dealing with this in a more holistic manner? So I just throw that out there. Let's decide who is going to handle it. Maybe that's a Randy decision or a Kevin decision, and then move on.
Okay. Yeah, we're about 6 minutes over, but we started a couple minutes late, so we can maybe make this the last thing. Jane.
Yeah, just to that point that David just made, because Olivia raised this issue, number 12, background checks of applicants to citizens committees, and she said
That actually was not my wording.
oh no,
It just
okay,
ended up on.
that's
just
an
by the
important
way.
point. No, okay, that's
Yes,
an
it is.
important, that's a really important point, because I'm going to make a point
Oh,
of order here,
sorry.
Mr. Chair, because if these issues are not reflective of the ones that were in the original spreadsheet, that's an issue. That's a real issue. So I'm just saying that I don't. Oh, again, David.
I can answer that.
David.
Okay.
I put them in there and I believe I copied them almost word for word, but I truncated them to make them fit in a smaller box. But no,
Okay.
I didn't interpret anything. I just
Okay.
tried
Thank
to
you.
list them. But you can correct it. We can correct the spreadsheet if it's wrong. Just take a look.
Kevin,
Take a look at the
No,
original list.
I didn't get to
Okay.
make my point, Mr. Chair. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
no, I'm
No,
sorry,
so-
Jane, please go continue.
So what originally, and if
I'm
it's on the spreadsheet, Olivia said was board members, committee members should have to pass a background check initially and receive random UAs throughout the term, just like county employees. So I think her point was creating the equity between what county employees are going through and what these volunteers. So I mean, there was.
I've had,
Jane?
So the point I was trying to make simply was that my view on this issue is that I do agree with Kevin. You would have very few individuals in this community wanting to volunteer for these entities if they had to go through those kinds of background checks. You want to volunteer for the school and you have to go through a background check as an adult to work in the school. Absolutely. Makes complete sense. Yeah, it's a bit onerous, but to Kevin's point, this would not serve our effort well in terms of wanting people to get interested in participating in county government. So I do not think it's appropriate.
Okay, Kevin?
In order to hopefully move us forward and maybe close the meeting, I think that it would be appropriate for Dave to let the chair of the operations committee know that we're discussing this as well. We will likely defer to them. However, there have been, if I can say that at least the bulk of the members on this committee had concerns about elected officials being treated differently than others and would like to push the envelope on that.
I'm fine with that if there's a general consensus to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But Kevin, what about the citizen committees? You referred to the elected committees, elected.
For me, I don't think I at this point am still not in favor of the same if it is that county employees currently have to do UAs and background checks, if that's the case, you know, for me, what I think of when I think of equity is not background checks and UAs. What I'm thinking about is there's a policies and procedures manual that you're required to literally sign and say, yes, I will abide by this. And I will treat people with respect and dignity. And I will, you know, it's all of the things we care about, right? And I think elected officials should be signing the same document, the same pledge as a county employee. That's my point. I'm not in favor of background checks and UAs, period. So it's going to take a long ways to get me to a place where I say that's a good idea.
Okay. Olivia?
I think that this topic is thoroughly being discussed on operations. They are taking this very seriously, even diving into elected versus appointed and how much they are making, just compensation. There is a vast difference. And so it's a very small committee. And now that I have dropped off, it is now 3 because I took Janet's very, very smart advice and only am now on 1 committee.
Good.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for your
exactly.
wise advice. So
Janet,
if you want to
Janet,
join
you're
them,
on J&E, man.
Sage.
You're on J&E.
Yeah.
Guys, I have to run because my little
Yeah.
girl wants me to go look at a bald eagle.
Is there
Oh.
a motion?
Cool.
Can I
David,
say one? Can I just
comment?
ask one?
Adjourn, yes.
Can I ask one follow-up question for
Yeah.
Olivia? Is the operations committee also considering this issue with regard to the citizen committees or only of the elected
They're
officials?
looking at the entire thing.
All of them, including citizen committee.
They're looking at every bit of inequality between the elected, the appointed, and the employee.
And David,
Well-
I think Kevin said to Dave to touch base with the operations committee
Yeah.
about this issue. So I think David's
So-
going to touch base with it.
Well,
Okay.
it's gonna get cleared. Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Let's get out of the
Second.
boxes.
I know.
Good meeting. It was a great
Paul
meeting.
Lynn, yes.
Well done, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thanks,
Jane,
everybody.
thank you, Janet.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good night,
everybody,
guys.
for your hard work.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Go,
guys.
go Mariners.
Oh, bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
End the recording.
Okay.